Hi guys, the topic for this video is rearranging equations so that they are in the form y is equal to mx plus c. As a starter, what I'd like you to do is name these equations. So 1 to 6, what are they? So what you need to do is work out the gradient of the lines first, and you can easily work out what the y-intercept is. Remember, the equation of a line is the form of an equation of the line is y is equal to mx plus c, where c is your wherever your y-intercept is, where it intersects the y-axis. Okay, so and your m is your gradient. So you need to pick 2 points of the line and find the gradient. So you work out your gradient to work out what your m is. Then you look at the graph to see where your y-intercept is, and then you'll be able to form an equation in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So please pause the video, have a go. 1 to 6, write down the name of those equations. So please pause the video, have a go, then press play when you're ready to carry on. Okay, so question one is y is equal to x minus 4, because as you can see, for the first line, the one in pink, it intersects that. It goes through the y-axis at minus 4, so my c would be minus 4, okay? And if you pick 2 points there, the gradient is just going to be 1, okay? So we don't write 1x, we just leave it as x. Y is equal to minus x plus 9 for question 2. Remember, it is negative because as you can see, if you read it from left to right, the line or the graph is going downwards. Okay, so remember we said anytime that the graph goes downwards, it would have a negative gradient, but if it goes upwards, it has a positive gradient. So the second one would have to be negative. Okay, then you work out what your gradient is, and then you work out what your intercept is. You can clearly see it goes through at 9, okay, for line number 2. Line number 3 now is this dark blue one over here. It intersects, you can clearly see, at 4, doesn't it? It intersects at 4. So my C would be 4. It's going to be negative, okay? If you pick 2 points, you would get minus 2. And again, it would be a negative gradient because the graph is going downwards, okay? Number 4, the graph is going downwards, so it would have a negative gradient. You should have worked it out to be minus a half, okay, if you pick 2 points. And then the y-intercept, my c, it goes through the origin 0. So I don't need to write, if you're at plus 0, that's okay, but you really don't need to do that, okay? You don't really need to write down plus 0. There's no need to do that, okay? All right. Number 5 now. Where is number 5? Is this black line here. You can clearly see the y-intercept goes through 3. Okay, and then you pick 2 points. You work out what your gradient is. So y is equal to half x plus 3. Okay, and it's positive gradient because it's going upwards. And line number 6, okay, is going upwards as well. The y-intercept is between minus 1 and minus 2. So we can say is, hold on, line number 6. The y-intercept should be at minus 2, not minus 3. Sorry, that's a mistake. It should be roughly about minus 2. Okay, and the gradient should be 2x. Okay, positive because it's going upwards. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right, moving on. So what we're going to be learning, like I said, is sometimes they may give you an equation of a line, but it's not in the form y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, and the reason why we need it to be in y is equal to mx plus c is because it makes it much more easier to identify what the gradient is and what the y-intercept is just from looking at the equation alone. I don't even need to draw the graph. Okay, so this one, for instance, y plus x is equal to 8. Now, it's not really it looks quite similar to y is equal to mx plus c, but it's not really in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So we need that y to be on the left-hand side by itself. So what can I do to that plus x? By rearranging it, I can minus x from both sides, okay? So using the inverse function to move x to the other side of the equation, I would subtract x from both sides, okay? All right, so y is equal to 8 minus x, all right? Now you can say it's almost similar to the form y is equal to mx plus c, but I'll bring the x coefficient first. So I can write this down again as y is equal to minus x plus 8. Okay. All right. Now, can you see it's identical to the form of an equation of a line? Okay, so what is my c? My y-intercept would be 8 for this one here, for this equation. And my m, my gradient, would be the coefficient in front of the x. So in this case here, we've got minus x, but remember, x on its own has a invisible coefficient of 1. Okay, so my m would be minus 1. So the gradient of this line, y plus x is equal to 8. What do? We subtract x from both sides. We get y is equal to 8 minus x. I can rewrite it as this, okay? So that is exactly in the form y is equal to mx plus c. And then you can clearly tell your gradient is the coefficient of x, okay, which is minus 1, and your y-intercept would be plus 8, okay? So that's how you'd rearrange. Let's look at a little bit more complex one. That was a bit more straightforward. Example number 2. So rearrange this in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So this one here, 2y plus 4x is equal to 8. So what can we do? It says use the inverse function to move the x to the other side. So we can subtract minus 4x from both sides. So that would leave me with 2y is equal to 8 minus 4x. Do you see that? Now, it's almost similar to y is equal to mx plus c, but what can I do? I need to get rid of that 2 in front of the y. So what does 2y mean? 2y means 2 times y. But I just want the y on its own. How can I get rid of the multiplying by y? Well, I'll need to divide by 2, okay? So use the inverse function to get y is equal to something. So, but be careful here. You're going to have to, because it's an equation, whatever you do on one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. Okay, so if you divide by 2 on the left-hand side to get y, you need to divide everything by 2. So y is equal to 8 minus 4x divided by 2. So y is equal to 4 minus 2x. Okay, and that's how you'd rearrange it. So again, I can rewrite it like this. Y, bring the x coefficient first. So y is equal to minus 2x plus the 4. Okay. It's in the form, as you can clearly see, y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, that's the form of the equation of a line. So that's c. My m, my gradient is minus 2. So my m is minus 2. My gradient is minus 2. And my c, sorry, that should say minus 2. I apologize. And my c would be 4. So that means if I draw a graph, okay, this line here has a negative gradient, so it's going to go downwards, and it would intersect at 4. Okay, that's how it would look. But the question didn't ask you to draw. This is just to help me explain. Okay, so that's how you'd work out the gradient and the y-intercept. Okay, so you need to rearrange it. Always make sure it's in the form y is equal to mx plus c. I hope that's clear. All right. So find the gradient of this straight line and where it crosses the y-axis. So y plus 3x is equal to 6. What I would like you to do is to pause the video, rearrange it so that it is in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. Okay. And what I want you to do is to work out the y-intercept and the gradient. Okay, so please pause the video, then press play when you're ready to carry on. All right, just quickly going through this. So I need to make sure y is on its own on the left-hand side. I need to make y the subject. So what can I do to rearrange so that it's in the form y is equal to mx plus c? Well, I can subtract 3x from both sides, and therefore y is equal to minus 3x plus 6. What would the gradient be? The gradient would just be the coefficient of x, okay, which is minus 3, okay? And the y-intercept would just be plus 6, or just a 6 on its own, okay? So therefore, if I was to draw this on a graph, okay, it has a negative gradient, so it's going to go downwards, but you would cross the y-axis, okay, at 6. So it's going to go down, it crosses the y-axis, sorry, at 6, all right? And because because it has a negative gradient, the line will be going downwards, okay? This is just a rough sketch of how the graph would look, okay? Let me just erase this. Hope that makes sense. This one now. This one's a little bit more complex. 2x minus 3y is equal to 6. What I would like you to do is to pause the video, rearrange so that it's in the form y is equal to mx plus c, then work out what my gradient is and what my y-intercept is. Okay, so rearranging, what can I do? I can subtract 2x from both sides. So that would leave me with minus 3y is equal to minus 2x plus 6. Again, I need to make it in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So I need to make y the subject. So the coefficient in front of the y is minus 3y. How can I get rid of the minus 3? Well, I would have to divide everything by minus 3. Okay, I would have to divide everything by minus 3. The reason why I want to do that is so that I can have y on its own, okay, on the left-hand side. So minus 3y divided by minus 3 will just leave me as y. And then the rest, minus 2 divided by minus 3 is just 2 over 3. And 6 divided by 3 is 2. But 6 divided by minus 3 would be minus 2. And there you go. Y is equal to mx plus c is in the right form. Okay? So what would my gradient be? My gradient would be the coefficient of x, okay, which is 2 over 3. And my y-intercept, be careful. A lot of people just say 2. It is actually minus 2 because there's a negative sign in front of the 2, okay? So it'd be minus 2, not 2, but minus 2, all right? The y-intercept would be 2 if the equation said y is equal to 2 over 3x plus 2, okay? If it said y is equal to 2 over 3x plus 2, then my y-intercept would be just 2. But because it's minus 2, okay, all right, be careful about that. My y-intercept would be minus 2. So I get to draw that using a graph. My gradient here is positive, it's not negative. So it will be going upwards, but it will cross at minus 2. That's how it would look. Rough sketch. Okay? I hope that makes sense. All right. What I'd like you to do now is to pause the video. For equations 1 to 6, you need to make sure you rearrange it first so that it's in the form y is equal to mx plus c. Use the examples that we've done together to help you. Okay? Once you have it in the form y is equal to mx plus c, find out what the gradient is by looking at the coefficient of x, the m, and you can work out what the y-intercept is, c, from the equation. So please pause the video, have a go, then press play when you're ready to carry on. All right, these should be the answers. Well, let's just quickly go through the first one. So I have 2y minus x is equal to 4. So if I add x on both sides, that will give me 2y is equal to x. Hold on. So let's just rewrite this again. This here, question 1, would give me 2y is equal to x plus 4, okay? If I divide everything by 2 now, that would give me y is equal to a half x and then plus 2. So my gradient would be the coefficient of x, a half. So my gradient would be a half, and my intercept would be 2. And that's how you do the first one. Okay, so I've done the first one for you. Have a go at question 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So please pause the video, have a go, then press play when you're ready to carry on. All right, I'm just going to give the rest of the answers now. These are the answers. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you so much for listening.